So Bruce, you have a very strong business background, and when you were picked to be the president of CU, it was unusual because typically they pick someone from academia. And so, what in your business background, or how did that help you do the things that you've been able to do here at CU?
Well, let's start a little other than just business, because I've been on some kind of a commission or chaired commissions, organizations for every governor since Dick Lamb included up through the prior governor. So I've had a lot of experience. It's not academic on a campus, but it is knowing all these people and how it works, and et cetera. So that gave me a leg up right there. So the business background. Now, see, my primary business has always been oil. I started in 1965, and I started working on rigs in '58. So oil is my real business, but I've been in every other kind of business you could imagine, from mortgage servicing to banking to owning all the Pizza Huts in Nebraska, cable TV, it goes on and on. So if you are going to do that and you're going to have these different businesses, that you cannot understand all of them. You have to have great people around you. So that's exactly what we've done here. We've got great people. We've got 7 vice presidents here and another half dozen key people. And then we got the 4 chancellors. So that's what set me up for this thing, is all of that background. So it's a business background, but with a pretty strong smattering of higher education.
Now, you mentioned great people, and this is something a lot of people I've talked to mention. So how do you find and how do you determine somebody is great people?
Well, I have a philosophy that anytime I can hire from within, I do it. Because you watch somebody coming up the ladder, one more step, we've had 100% success. Now, the other thing we do, sometimes we hire people that have a real Colorado knowledge. So you've walked them through the years. We had the guy that ran the community college system, and prior to that he ran the area campus, and he was Denver Public Schools superintendent. So it's kind of a no-brainer. If you did a good job on that, you did a good job for us as a chancellor. In fact, I called him and said, asked him about some people. I had to name a chancellor, and finally I said, "Why don't you do it, Jerry?" And he said, "Oh, that's interesting." I said, "Wait a minute, would you?" He said, "Yeah, I would." I said, "Done. Now we'll go through the hoops and the search committees and all that stuff, but you'll be the chancellor."
Wow.
But you just test people that way. Now, you bring in somebody that's never seen Colorado, it's a challenge.
Okay.
And I've done something with all these presidents for about the last 6 or 8 or 10, I don't know. It's quite a few. And I've watched them come in from other places that don't know the state, and they get in trouble.
Now, you're the longest serving president. I think it's 65 years.
65
here.
years.
Yeah. So what do you attribute that to? What's your longevity here in the position?
Oh, it's just my personality. I like to get stuff done. You got to work with people. You have to. I've watched these other presidents. I've advised these other presidents because we'd be chairing a campaign for this place as volunteers, and they, I started working with the presidents and work with them. And I told one, I said, "You aren't going to make it if you don't change your way, because you are in trouble right now, and it's only going to get worse if you don't fix some things." I'm not going to go into names. And this person didn't change, we'll say, her ways.
Right.
And 3 months later, she was in deep trouble.
Okay.
So you have to understand, and if you want to work with faculty, the new president of OU, who's now no longer the president of OU, I know pretty well. He's one of our alums. And he talked to me before he took the job at OU, and talked about some of the nuances and problems. He's a very serious businessman, and so I got an email from once. "How fast can I move with faculty?" I wrote back, "Baby steps." And you better understand that. You better understand how the faculty is. You better how they think and how they work. The faculty at Boulder voted 40-4 against me when I was in the process of going through it. I went up there a month or so after I started. Walked around the room, shook hands with every one of those 40-some people, talked to them a little bit, sat down, laid out an agenda. It's not one thing that was going to hurt them. Next day I got an email from one of them saying almost everybody in the room's happy. You just got to work with people. It's just respect them. I mean, the faculty gave me, there's a trophy over there, I can't remember what it says, but next to that bowl. The faculty gave me that the other day. I was surprised. And there's somewhere in this place, there's an inscription. They had a resolution and all this kind of stuff. And then one of them said, after getting that. He said, you know, we didn't always agree with you, but we always knew where you stood. Will you make sure everybody continues that philosophy? Don't smooth this, just tell us what you think.
Great.
So you can go work with faculty. I don't have any problem with faculty. They're great. And most of them are not my political style, as you may know.
Yes.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm an oil guy, a conservative, and I got a bachelor's degree. That's not exactly a typical college president.
Exactly. But it's gone really well.
It
I
is.
read that you have kind of a nickname as the volunteer president, and that you don't fill out expense forms and a lot of things. So why don't you explain that a little bit?
Well, when they hired me, they said, you gotta talk to this lawyer in New York and all that. The guy said, well, what kind of contract do you want? And I said, you know, at will, day to day. Oh, no, I can get you a great contract. I said, I don't want a great contract. He said, well, what do you want to get paid? I said, $1. He said, oh, I can get you a great deal. I said, no, I don't want a great deal. I'm not doing it to make money. I'm doing it because this is important. This is where I went to school. The state is something important to me. So that's what I want. They insisted on paying me $300 and something. I don't know what it is, but I give it all back. So that's how I think.
Okay, well, that's
So I have a
that's
volunteer president, so to speak.
It is.
And I brought along my wife, who's, now you got two of us.
Yeah, double, you twice the fun.
It is really.
For half the cost.
She is something else, so.
When you first took over the university, times were tough. I think it was towards the Great Recession.
Yeah, we were just going
The
into
financing for the school was low. The amount of money that was coming in donations was low. And you and your wife has been a big part of it, has turned that around some big numbers. So give us some examples, some numbers, and then can you share a little bit of the secret of how did you do it?
I'll use a couple of these numbers. When I started, the state was giving us $227 million. Frankly, if you looked at it compared to other states, because Colorado ranks 48th in the nation of funding for higher education, we probably should have been getting at least 350, maybe 400, just to be where we belonged with our peers.
Okay.
So that's where we started. The recession came, they dropped us down to 146, I believe it was. So it's a big cut. And when they did that, then Obama says, well, I'm going to backfill these budgets. So you know, 2 years, you're going to be flat, and then you fall off the cliff. I told the staff, I said, well, when we get to the cliff, we're not going to fall off it. We're going to be at the bottom of the cliff before we get there. And sure enough, we were. We actually had reserves built up by then because we started cutting stuff and we started looking at different revenue sources. So that's what it really comes down to. Now, we built back and we were I think we're at 246 million now. We're still, we've done some statistics. We should be at least at 350. And so we're behind the power curve, but you know, any business, you can go through and cut stuff out that you don't need to do. And I say it two different ways when I'm talking to people. One is, you know, a bad budget makes you do what you ought to do, and it allows me to do what I want to do, which is cut stuff back and clean out. And see, when Dick Lamb put me on the Commission on Higher Education, we were told, clean it up. We went from 1,600 programmatic offerings to 1,200 in the state of Colorado, public higher education. So that's what we started doing. We just started going through and cleaning out. Do we really need this? Do we really need that? I mean, I shut down one of the newspapers. That was brutal. And, well, it was just ridiculous. We're wasting $600,000-700,000 on this thing. And so, it didn't support us. So I had to get rid of it. So we just went through and cleaned out. And you look for waste. The other thing we've done, we've passed over 100 pieces of legislation down here to make us more efficient. And you know, the one I'm irritated on still, we didn't know about it, but it's how you collateralize your bonds. And it was convoluted, so I'm not going to go into it, but what I'm going to say is we went through and found out that if we'd done this 2 years earlier, we would have saved $3.7 million. Well, so we did it, but you know, it wouldn't have been nice to save that extra 3.7. We did an insurance audit. How many people were getting insurance that shouldn't be on our insurance? Well, it's $2.8 million worth of people per year.
Wow.
Well, and then we went through and did the whole thing. We did a really in-depth study on our whole insurance program. We saved another $3 or $4 million. You just go through and you run it like a business, clean things out, get a lot of collaboration, get people to work together. Collaboration is the most important thing going. Well, not the most important, but you got to do all of that stuff. And, you know, the greatest line I've heard in the last few months is a woman up at Boulder, and she says, the silos are coming down. So you get collaboration, you get people working together. You know what we just did with our business school and engineering school? Hooked them together physically, close together, 100 feet or so apart. We're building between it, and we're going to be cross collaboration, all of that working together in there.
Nice.
That's what you got to do. But I just, there's nothing makes me happier when I find out we got departments collaborating. We had a woman that was up for tenure, I suppose 7 or 8 years ago, and the department voted overwhelmingly against it. And I'm not a big tenure person, but it's part of the process, is how things work. And we found out that she was just world class. She liked to do interdisciplinary studies, but the old dogs in the department didn't want to do that. We gave her tenure. Well, you know, this is the collaboration. There's nothing like it. I mean, I talk about that all the time. I talk about reputation all the time. Before I started, a couple of years before, I'll bet we had about a 25% approval rating. Right now it's 75%, and our alumni satisfaction is 97%, which I still can't believe that, but that's what the polls show when they send this stuff back in. But you just got to whip away at all the little things. That's what it takes. Well, I'll tell you another bond rating. And I really didn't think, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that we'd get a better rating, but we went from AA3 to AA1. Shortly after that, we refinanced $500 million worth of bonds, and we saved $50 million.
Just on the
Just
interest
that one
rate.
thing, yeah.
So huge. It's incremental, just little
Piece by
bits and
piece by
pieces
piece.
add up to be a big thing.
Totally.
How about the research funding? You've had huge increases in that. You've had huge increases in corporate and you know, personal donations.
Yeah.
What do you do to accommodate that?
Well, let's do research first, because I have very little to do with that other than trying to create an environment where people will go out and say, we've got to do more research, we've got to get more funding, we got to get, and some of our funding is now private that we're getting in research, but it's still 85%, I think, is still federal funding. But you got to have a great product. So how do you get a great product? You hire great people, and that's what's critical, is the high quality people we have, and they come up with these ideas of what needs to get done. I mean, how many people have ever built a bionic eye? One, and that's Neeraj Madhava, who's on our campus, head of ophthalmology. So you get people like that, and you look at the world-class. One of my favorites is, how many people have gone to Pluto, gentlemen?
I don't know of anyone personally.
Well, one mission has gone to Pluto. That's ours.
Right.
And what I really love about that one is that our graduate students, I don't know, 15 years ago or something, said we ought to go to Pluto. They assigned it to one guy to go to Washington, present it to whoever back there, and all of a sudden we're going to Pluto. Who's the lead investigator? The guy that went to Washington as a student to say we ought to do this. Now, if you go to Pluto, that takes, I think it was 9 years to get there.
Wow.
And if you want to tell the satellite what to do it 4.5 hours in advance. That's how long it takes that signal to get to Pluto.
Wow.
Oh, it's amazing stuff. And that satellite, because it's got solar panels, it's still out there floating around someplace and mapping all kinds of stuff in the universe.
That was some years ago. They degraded Pluto as a planet. They turned it into, I forgot what they was.
Dwarf planet.
Dwarf planet?
Yeah, some
It
people.
was already small, and now
It's small, so.
now they're calling it a dwarf.
But those are the kind of things that happen here, and people say, well, why are we in space? Well, how would you have this if you didn't have space? Everything's satellite.
Yes.
And so people don't understand why we do a lot of this stuff. Look at the medical research that we're doing. It's amazing stuff. And we're getting close on solving some things. I'm not going to go into names, but so that's it. But so then private fundraising. We restructured the entire fundraising operation. We had an attitude in this place that we're the foundation and you're the university. I'm the university, but those guys are the foundation. I served on the foundation board once. My wife served on it. We did not last. They were acting like we're in charge of everything. No, the foundation's not in charge of everything. So we shut it down. We restructured everything. We still have a foundation. Their job is to receive the money that comes in and to invest it or send it off to wherever it's supposed to go for scholarships or chairs or whatever. That is their job. the advancement operation, which now works for me. That is how you raise the money. So we've started just bringing in good advancement people.
Give us some numbers, what it was before you came and what it is now.
135 million, I think, when I started. It's 440 last year, and knock on wood, hopefully we're gonna beat that this year, and I'm pretty sure we will.
Okay. You're a big believer in social media. So, you know, you have Twitter, I think. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing on that.
I don't do anything on it. No, I personally? No, down the hall.
Yeah.
Well, I was giving a speech in Colorado Springs once, and this guy said, "Oh, I just got a tweet from your email or something." I don't know what it was. He said, "I said, didn't you say me? I was just doing it." Hell, I don't even know how to do that stuff. But it's very important. Our list was 80,000 names when I started. It's 470 now. And that's, you gotta communicate. You gotta have people working together, finding out what we're doing and doing all the rest of it. We've just done a couple of things. We then put in something called CU Advocates, which are a bunch of volunteers. There's now 4,840 or something, I don't remember exactly, but it's just shy of 5,000 people that are out just beating the drum and saying CU is a great place, and telling everybody why they should support CU and all the great things we do. And we have little seminar things for them and stuff like that. We have Advocacy Day at the Capitol, and I'll tell you, we had a really critical bill a few years ago. We had 150 people wandering through the Capitol that day. It didn't go unnoticed. So we started the Advocates. Then one day I said, well, guys, we have programs around the state. I just don't know what they are or how many or anything. So we started studying. I really expected to find 30 or 40. We found 291 programs we're doing all over the state of Colorado. So then we said, well, let's build a map and show on dot whatever we got all over the map. And then different symbols for different things that we're doing. It might be one place teaching English. It might be another place of working on water quality. It could be something to do with roads or something in other places. It's everything you can imagine. So we got the 291 pieces. Well, then we said, well, what about our clinics? Well, we got 500 clinics. Okay, we got 800 points on this map. Now, it's interactive. You can punch that for a legislative district, and the guy can say, well, CU's in my district doing X, Y, Z. Well, that's pretty powerful. You're trying to get legislation done. You go down there and say, yeah, well, you know, in your district, we're doing all these things. It's really important you support us. So that's what's behind all this. And it's all, I call it earned media. It's not paid media. But then we did put in paid media about 3 or 4 years ago, I would say. We have all 4 Colorado, 4 FOUR, 4 campuses. I got a question again the other day on the CUA line going out to the airport.
Okay.
Well, we spend $1 million a year on it, I think that's the right number. And somebody said, well, why are you doing that? Doesn't even hook your, in fact, Vince Carroll, who used to be the editorial page editor, do you know Vince?
No, I do not.
Well, I've known Vince for 30 years, and he gave me a lot of crap. And he said, doesn't hook your campuses together. I said, Vince, trust me, my students, faculty, and staff know what we are. I'm talking about the people from back east, the people from Europe, whoever would be riding that train. Those are the people I want to pay attention to CU. And by the way, I did the math. I think it was 7 cents a credit hour if I had shut that $1 million down and give more, helped all the kids with their tuitions. So 7 cents a credit hour is not going to be a real change.
No.
But it's a hell of a change for us because people see that. And there are an awful lot of friends of mine that they're going out to the airport, they get on the A line. And you get off, I've never done it, so I don't know at all about it, but it's great service out there. But they get to see our videos going.
Okay.
And so then we have the other one. So they passed the, what the heck was all the RTD stuff, you remember that? Several years ago.
Sure.
It was $5 billion
Sure.
or something like that. Well, they were building all these things. They ran out of the money to build a train out to Boulder. And so everybody said, well, we got to have this, we got to do that. We have city councils, all of these people, and county commissioners. So we pulled a meeting together. We had about 40 people in the room. There were city council members, there were commissioners, there were everything. And I said, guys, we're going to have nothing if we don't come to one solution. And finally, at the end of the meeting, after a couple hours, we said we're going to do BART lanes and buses. And that's what we've got. And even my friend John Caldera, do you know John?
No, I do not.
Independence Institute, he's a bit conservative.
Okay,
And,
a bit.
Well, he wrote it, there was an article, the best thing about the RTD stuff, and I wonder what John's gonna say now. He says, it was the buses. If you got a bus, you can change the route, move over here 2 blocks if you want to. You can put another bus on, you can take the bus off. These trains, you look at
Kind of
those.
stuck on the tracks.
Huh?
They're kind of stuck on the tracks, right?
They are, and if you ride around town, you look in those windows, how full are they? So, I mean, we've got, this is another deal we had. We had to change the location of the track on our Anschutz campus because it was going down Mount View, which is right in the middle of the campus. It's the academic on the south side, the north side is the redevelopment. And finally, we had a big meeting. We had about 30 people in the room from Aurora and all of us. And finally, one of our guys looked at me and said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to move the damn train." "What?" I said, "Yeah, I'm very, I haven't got a pen, but I take my pen out and I said, okay, this is 2,000 feet, and I measured around the outside, and I measured this way. Well, around the outside would save, I don't know, it's $40 million a track. I said, so we do that, and by the way, if you got this damn train, you've got electromagnetics and you've got vibrations. You take your sensitive equipment, set it back 300 feet, I think it was, from the track. That's a lot of acreage you can't use anymore. And I said, I want to take it around the outside. Oh my God, people were saying. Half hour later, we voted, going outside. So we had to tell our TD, you're going to move the damn track. And we're going to have chain link fences on each side of this thing, cutting our campus in half. We're going to have gates going up and down. We're going to be stopping our ambulances. No, get them out of here. So it's the outside. And the other thing it gives you another, a front location, because now you got to stop on the north. So all of a sudden now you've got an area up there to build more things, to right access there. So we're going to be putting it. We're in the process doing a lot of stuff out there. We've got to do real work on the roads, the north, south, and the east, west, Montview, and then we will have a shuttle. And I think it's going to be no driver, and it will be running around there taking people from that stop and bringing them down, stopping the children's and our hospital and our academic campus. So this is all in process. It's a big deal. And so anyway, you just have to get outside the box and use your head.
So technology is something that has taken some big steps during your time here at the university. And one of the things is, I think it's called Coursera, and online courses,
Coursera.
degrees. Yeah, Coursera. So you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing there now, and in
Sure.
the future, do you see a virtual university, or how's that going to change things?
Well, let's go to Coursera. So John Hickenlooper, who I've worked with a lot when he was mayor and and when he was governor, and he called me. He said, I met this young lady, and she's doing this place called Coursera. I said, so what's that? And he went through it, and it's a MOOC. You know what all this is? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so I said, all right. So I called Daphne and said, I want to talk to you about this and how you do it and all that. And she said, well, only take AAUs. Boulder's the only AAUs campus in the state. So my other campuses are out of it. So Daphne came out and she and I sat down and talked about it. And said, okay, let's build something. So we did it with Coursera to get started. And then and I said, Daphne, all I can do is give you Boulder stuff. I can't do anything off the other campuses. We got some pretty hot stuff there. So we then set up a separate one for state systems. So we had 2 of these now. So some people, I'll go nameless right now, believe that this is going to take over higher education. I do not believe that. I think it's just one of our tools that we've got. And so I believe that if we get these MOOCs going really right, Georgia's Tech's the one that's done the best, I think, on this, or at least up there. And I know about that one. So they've got a MOOC, a 2-year master's program, $30,000 for a 2-year program.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Well, it's cheap as hell.
Yeah.
And so if you got that many people in that program and you can't make money, you got a real problem. So I think they've done a good job with that. We got an engineering 2-year program, master's program that's going to be, I think it's starting this fall. They won't give credit until next spring. You could maybe take 30 credit hours in a year and pay $5,000. I think that's a bargain.
Heck of a bargain.
And so competency-based is great. We're pushing hard on that. I've got a lot of material over here on it, and I've pushed on people to get this stuff going. So anyway, that to me is important. There's all kinds of ways you should deliver and do education. I mean, we put in, before I was here, I think they started before I was here, and we have learning assistants. And these learning assistants are students that haven't graduated yet, but they've taken the course and they understand the pitfalls and the problems in a course. So they're in the classroom with some of these students, and when the student can't figure it out, the learning assistant can. What I really like, and I don't remember exact numbers on this, but if you, check the knowledge a few years after somebody's taken a course. If you had not had a learning assistant, you might end up with, say, high 50s as knowledge that you've got.
Okay.
If you had a learning assistant, you get into the 70s. Now, since these learning assistants are still students, check them. Now you get up to 90. So retention of knowledge isn't that the most important thing, not just taking the course?
I would think so. I mean, that's a thing that's different in Japan than in the U.S. I used to work a lot in Japan with my previous life, but there you'd have to take a cumulative test. So at the end of the year, and if you didn't pass that test, you didn't go to the next grade. There was no push
What a
ahead.
strange idea.
Yeah.
This is wrong with our school systems.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what we've been doing, but I just find it so interesting. You test the learning assistants, these guys got great retention and knowledge. But that's what it's all about. So you got that, flipped classrooms. So you can sit there with your computer the night before and you can watch the lecture. And you go to the class the next day and discuss the lecture. Now, isn't that good utilization of your time?
Yeah, it's repetition. It's kind of like we did the times table when we were kids.
I don't
You actually
know.
had to do them instead of go down
Yeah,
the chart.
but the other thing, if you're taking notes in class, the professor's talking fast, I used to have hell as a student. I couldn't, you had 5 points, I might get 3 of them,
Sure.
Well, if it's on video and you can check back in and look at it again, you're gonna get all 5.
You can get the whole thing.
Yeah, so I think there's so much that can be done with technology, and I'm not a technology expert by any means, but all of this stuff's really important.
All right, so that brings up another thing, and that is balls in the air. You've got a lot of things, they got, the hospitals, you got the schools and whatnot, and I hear you got a yellow pad.
Right there.
It's right there. And so on that yellow pad, you're gonna be retiring, so I wanna know what's on that yellow pad between now and then? What are the things that,
Well,
that
I've
you
only
wanna
got
get?
another 6 days in the office.
Right,
And I'll be meeting shortly with the next president, who I think's here somewhere. Well, I'm not gonna tell you everything that's on there, because that would get me in trouble.
double top secret.
But one thing, well, I'll tell you one thing that's really bothers me is nursing. And we need to get a collaboration right now between the nursing board, 4-year privates and publics, and the community colleges, and come to some solutions on how do you create better nurses. Community colleges did this over a year ago, and all they did is take some 2-year and made them into 4-year nurses. That was worthless. That needs to be looked at. We've got projects that are going on that are not going to get done while I'm here, but they're started and they will keep going. I mean, Boulder's building a conference center and a hotel. That'll get done. It's well down the road to get done. I think the new hotel and more housing and Anschutz will get done. It's not quite as locked down as Boulder, but it's pretty close. This campus down here has always been a stepchild. You had a separate board that was running the physical campus with a paid guy running it, which was my friend that had gone on to community college and then DPS. Then you had three governing boards, 3 presidents or chancellors, whatever they call them, on that campus. So you've got all of that, so it's really complicated. So you weren't able to do what you needed to do because you had too many restrictions working with other people. But anyway, now we've changed it a lot. We have more, we've broken it down into communities and neighborhoods so that we have this, they have that, and somebody else has this one over here. So it's, so that's important to get these things straightened out. We've changed it now, how it all works. So that's a big, big change on how we structure this place. But I want people to understand how much good comes out of here. We've got world-class programs down here on this campus. And so those are things that are happening. We'll have better housing if you want to retain students. And one of the biggest problems right now in this country is high school graduations. And Colorado is not going to have a decline in high school graduations until 24, I believe it is. Other states right now are already in decline. So what's that do to us? Well, now people are coming in from other states. But we have other universities that are offering in-state tuition to our students if they'll come there as out-of-state students, but pay in-state.
So it's a pretty competitive landscape.
It's getting
to get
worse. There's like,
students.
I think there are 40 other universities right now messing around in Colorado. So we have to work hard to keep them. So you gotta bring the kids in, you gotta retain them and graduate them. That's the whole secret of the game. And that's what I'm really after, is push all the time for better retaining and graduation rates. It's just what you have to have if you're gonna have a good operation, so.
Okay. All right, I've heard a phrase about you, recovering oil field roughneck. You want to tell me about that?
I don't know if I've recovered yet. Well, I started as a roughneck. I mean, I went to school back east.
So explain what a roughneck does. So
Works
our audience-
on a drilling rig.
Okay.
And I went to a place called Cornell, and my dad talked me into studying agriculture. I didn't like what I was studying, so I dropped out. And I'd never been across the Mississippi River. So a buddy of mine and I got in an old car, and we headed west.
Go west, young man, right?
Go west. And I'd never seen a drilling rig, never seen an oil well. But this was something.
The dream.
It's a dream, you know. It's fantasies, whatever you want to call it. So we took off, and I'm an old farm kid, so I'm a mechanic all my life. So I'm 20 years old. We get to Iowa, and all of a sudden, clunk, 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 and I was shit. So got out, dropped the pan, hopeless. So I went to town and found a junkie, and he came out, and it's junkie on cars now.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's taking new meaning.
he gave me 3 $10 bills, and I gave him the keys, and we put our thumbs out and went to Wyoming. So that's how I got in the oil patch. And I got out there, and they told me, go to Big Piney, Wyoming. There's rigs running, so we went over there. Couldn't get a job at first, so I dug ditches, and I built Quonset huts, and then I cut timber, and I got a job on a drilling rig. And of course, they said, well, that college kid from back east, he'll never work out, he won't last a month. Well, a month later, I'd moved up one notch, and 3 months later, another notch, and a year and a half later, I was running the rig. So I think it worked out okay. But I loved roughnecking. I did not like drilling, because you're drilling, you just sit up there and watch it, watch the weight indicator and the RPMs on the table, and boring. If you're roughnecking, you're out working, and you're doing stuff.
Okay.
So that's what I always enjoyed.
Why don't you share with us the funniest or craziest thing that's happened here during your tenure?
You know, I've read that question. I don't really, there's a lot of crazy stuff, but funny stuff, I don't look at anything that's real funny around here. It's really not crazy stuff. It's just that it's such a complicated place. I don't think people understand the complications of this. This is not one you need a PhD in English or something to run. George Norland, the great George Norland, he was president for 20 years or something. And when he quit in '39, his budget was $1,050,000, and he had like 4,000 students. Now think about what we got. $4.8 billion budget and 75,000 students. There's a little difference here. This is a management team. This is a management business, and that's why you've got to get people that understand management and how do you build teams and how do you get people to work together. So that's what the difference is.
So we have a new guy coming in, and you're going to be retiring. So 2 questions on that.
I'm only retiring from CU, let's be clear.
Oh, okay.
I still have another office down the road here.
Oh, okay. Why don't you tell us about that?
It's an oil company. I've been in there for about probably close to 30 years.
Okay.
Paying rent on it. We still got some staff over there. We've changed the oil company to being overrides and royalties, meaning money comes in,
Sure.
we own mineral rights and stuff. And very, very little operated. It was a dozen wells left, which a year from now they won't be alive anymore. They're declining. Then we do non-operated where somebody else does all the work and you just pay your way and hope to get some money back. So that's what we've been doing for quite a few years now.
Okay. And then, aside from that, you know, you're gonna take a big workload off. Go
Well,
ahead.
plus a lot of my buddies say, oh, you're gonna go back and do deals again. Yeah, probably. That was brought up last night, you know, again. Every time I see my friends, somebody says.
So I'm thinking fishing, golfing, you're thinking deals.
I work. You know, you could ask me my hobbies. I don't have any anymore because my body won't. I have trouble skiing. I can't ride horses very well anymore. I've got 2 new hips and, you know, stuff like that. So scuba diving, none of this stuff works the way it used to work. So most of my great extracurricular activities are zero now.
So the new president coming in, with Mark Kennedy, I think, correct?
Yeah.
So what advice, you know, given that you've been the longest tenure here in 65 years, are you gonna give him?
I already gave him one.
Okay.
Well, I've watched too many people come in and say, oh, I have my own, you know, chief of staff, my own provost, my own whatever. You've got a really strong team of people here. Don't mess with this team for a while.
The great people, what you're talking
The
about.
great people, because these guys, this is so complicated. They know this place. I mean, my chief of staff has had 5 presidents.
Okay.
5. He's been around a while. And he was a lobbyist before that. I mean, this is a great team of people. They will keep you out of trouble, and if you do get into trouble, they'll help you get out of it. If you bring in some brand new people, they won't be able to do that. So, you know, so what I understand he has said is, if you want to quit, give me a year's notice. Well, I don't care a year's notice, but it means you're going to be here for a while.
Okay.
And that will save him, make him successful. So that's the most important thing. And then I'm going to show him all my projects that are in process and say, I hope you'll finish them.
There's a huge magnitude in your position in terms of the billions of dollars that you're controlling and the number of units. How do you keep that all straight? Is it a lot of delegation?
Oh,
or?
total. You can't do that stuff alone. I had a great finance team down here. They bring stuff down, tell me what they think we ought to do, and I agree and sign it or disagree and say, let's work on it some more.
So it's a lot of, it's the
It's all
first,
delegation.
first step is get great people and then delegate to those great people
Right.
and then have them come to you and then, you know,
Well,
for
we work
mentorship.
together, we're a team. I mean, I basically call them family. I mean, we've got a great group of people here, and they really are family. And, you know, I'll do anything in the world for them, they'll do it for me. It's just the way we are. We've done some pretty interesting things, which I'm not gonna go into, to help people. And that's how you get stuff done.
All right, so I just want to thank you.
All right, Jesse,
Mr.
good to see you.
Be retiring in a couple of days, right here.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
A week from Friday.
Yes, and I'm Jesse from Our Community Now, and this is our second in a series of legends and icons of Colorado. You get to be a legend and an icon.
So Jake's your first one?
Jake was the first one, Jake Jabs.
Jake is great.
Yeah, he is great, and he had nice things to say about you. You were the first one when I asked him, who could we next talk to?